right, guys, so I've been running the conjugate system now for about 8 months. And now that I have a good feel for it and I'm very comfortable with how the system works, I wanted to put out some content about what I've been doing and kind of what it is and how it works. And as I transition some of my athletes into this kind of training system, I wanted to have a little bit of very generic videos that kind of explain the what's and the hows and the whys. This way, you guys can kind of watch these and get a good feel for it and then come at me with some questions as you have them more specifically. So what is conjugate training? Conjugate training is a system that weaves together the max effort method, the dynamic effort method, and the repetition effort method all into one system that allows you to train very, very heavy and very, very high volume and very fast, all in one system. So typically in a linear periodization program or a block training program, typically you're doing kind of one or the other. And Louis Simmons, who kind of created the system, kind of illustrated this in a chart that's very, very simple, but it makes a lot of sense. So at the beginning of a hypertrophy block or the start of a training block, typically you're at much higher volume and much lower intensity. So you're typically somewhere in the 50 to 60, maybe 65% intensity range. That's the percentage of the barbell weight that you're lifting. And the volume is very high. So you might be doing sets of 6, 8, or 10 for 3 to 4 to who knows how many sets. The volume is very, very high. The total number of reps is high, the weight's very low. And that's kind of where we start here. So the volume is very high at the beginning of the block, and it decreases over time because we can't do 70 or 80 or 90% of our maximal weight for the same amount of reps and sets. You just can't do it. So as the intensity, the barbell weight goes up, the volume ends up coming down. By the time you get to the meet, you're very, very strong for 1 or 2 reps, but you're not very conditioned as you were. Doing a set of 8 or 10 would be very, very difficult, and your cardio gets taxed. So that's kind of one of the downfalls of periodization. And you're also your general level of fitness is a little bit lower when you're very, very strong. And a lot of times that's when injuries occur because you end up being detrained. So in the beginning of the block, you may be doing 30 to 60 working reps over the course of the set, whether it's a 5x10 or a 4x8 or whatever it is. And by the time you get to the meet, you may only be doing between 4 and 6, maybe 8 total working reps for the day. So your volume drops, your physical level of preparedness drops, and the weight is very, very heavy. And that's a lot of times when injuries happen there. So what the max effort method does, it allows you to train very, very heavy every single week. So we have 2 max effort days, and the max effort days are exactly what they sound like. You lift maximally. So you're trying to lift as absolutely heavy as you can for 1 rep on the movement that you're doing for the week, and those movements rotate every single week. So we have a squat, a lower body max effort day, and an upper body max effort day every single week. The other 2 training days are the dynamic days. The dynamic days are about getting in a lot of volume and pushing your level of conditioning up. We also lift against accommodated resistance on those days. So that could be either bands or chains. It's generally about 25% accommodated resistance. I've pushed that number up, I've dropped that number down a little bit, but it seems that 25%, which is what Louis Simmons and Dave Tate kind of recommend, is a good baseline to start. I did not create conjugate. Those guys, Louis Simmons ended up creating the system, back years and years and years ago. And so a lot of my training has been very influenced by those 2 guys, Dave Tate and Louis Simmons, because they're just brilliant guys. And so I took a lot of what they put out there and the great content that they have, and I've kind of molded it around a training system that's been working well for me. But at the end of the day, I did not invent this stuff. This is, guys way smarter than me did it. So the repetition method is the last kind of little bit there, and that's essentially bodybuilding, but it's bodybuilding with intent. So we're not just doing lateral raises for the sake of doing lateral raises. The repetition method is about bringing up lagging muscle groups in a mechanism. So if our bench pressing mechanism, the triceps were the lagging muscle group there because the lockout is slow and we have trouble locking out weight, we do a lot of tricep work on those days to try to bring up the lagging muscle groups. Controversially for lower body, a lot of guys have weak glutes and hamstrings, and that's just kind of what I've seen, over the years and years. Everyone trains their quads, and glutes and hamstrings kind of lack in that area. So again, a lot of my work on the lower body days is bringing up my glutes and hamstrings, and that's paid dividends over on my squat. So that's kind of the way the system works. The other 2 things that are worth mentioning are the GPP, your general physical preparedness, is a key component of conjugate. So on the dynamic effort days, we keep the rest time very, very low, 10 to 15 seconds in between reps. And instead of doing sets of 10 or 12, we end up doing doubles or triples, but we end up doing 10 to 12 to even 15 sets sometimes. But we're keeping the rest time very, very low, 10 to 15 seconds in between those. And we're trying to do as much force into the barbell as we can. We're trying to go as fast as we can. So maximal effort into sub-maximal weight on those days. And we'll get more into the dynamic, setup in another video on how to set it up and how to wave it. But your GPP on these, on every workout, it's a lot of sled dragging and jumping and cardio and just things to bring up your overall athleticism. That's been huge. I've been an athlete my entire life. I played ice hockey for years and years and years. So doing squat, bench, and deadlift every single week kind of got mundane and kind of got boring. So having a good part of the program focused on bringing up my athleticism was a lot of fun, but also my cardio is better, so I can get through more work in less time. My recovery has gone up tremendously. My hips and joints don't hurt. The sled dragging's proven to be very, very good in keeping my hips and glutes and my cardio up, and then being able to jump. The higher I can jump, the faster I get on my squats and deadlifts. So a lot of those things kind of get weaved in and out, and it's a really complete plan, much more complete than a lot of the other programs I've run, as far as building a great athlete. And if you're a better athlete, you're going to end up being a better powerlifter anyway. And then the warm-ups. The warm-ups have a lot more focus to activate and create a good greased pattern for the day. So when in the past, like doing a lot of foam rolling and stretching and activation work, which has its benefits, and I don't want to debate that, but coming in and getting moving first and getting a sweat going and doing, whether it's banded work or body weight work or even some light exercises with lightweight that are going to grease the pattern for the day, whether it's a squat or a deadlift or a bench, has proven to eliminate a lot of the need for activation work and static stretching. So how I've been doing this is I've been doing warm-ups, and Matt Wenning, has the Wenning warm-up, which is a 300 rep warm-up. And although I wouldn't say I'm doing exactly that, the ideology of doing a lot of work with a very minimal load very quickly and getting your body ready to train has also proven to be very beneficial. So I'll do a whole warm-up video on that. But basically what this in a whole nutshell has allowed me to do: train very heavy without being in pain. It allowed me to get much faster and much more athletic over the course of a very short duration, just because of the speed work and because of the GPP work. And I'm in and out of the gym in actually less time. So it kind of worked all the way around. My workouts are about 90 minutes, maybe just a hair more than that if I'm talking too much during my warm-up, but I'm pretty much in and out of the gym in 90 minutes now. I'm getting a lot more work done. My body composition has changed. I've picked up a lot of muscle mass in areas that I was lagging it, and I don't have any pain anymore, which for me is a huge thing. So I hope you guys follow along. If you guys have any specific questions about something you want to see in the next video, my intent is to go over a dynamic day, accommodation, how to set it up, bands and chains, a warm-up video, and the GPP work. But yeah, other than that, if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you on the